Hello. No. No. baby. Oh, sorry, Benji. I was waiting for people to join, but looks like it's just me today. Maybe I will just present, even though I'm alone today, because there's a lot of big things happening. Yeah, so getting started, it's been about 10 minutes here. So we have a lot of exciting things in store for graphical users. We have a V4 version coming up that Dimitri is working on in an alpha branch. So if you're curious about this upcoming work, we're publishing it to the new alpha tags for graphical. I'm currently working on a rewrite for Zustand. The scope of Graphical 4 is mostly going to be that and a number of other improvements and trimmings of the API in preparation for Monaco. The Zustand rewrite has a lot to do with supporting Monaco. We realize that the current React context implementation goes above and beyond, to put it nicely, what React context is built for. React context is not suitable for high throughput input. The volatile state of graphical, as many things change just as you type, means that we need something a bit more sophisticated and idempotent to not only to have a performant editor, which performance really isn't our biggest issue here, though there are issues with large files and complex, other issues that can sometimes create edge case performance issues. The main reason is for us as maintainers and for future contributors to not only have an easier experience contributing to GraphQL or to graphical in our lovely ecosystem, but also to allow them to find a way to more readily build editor implementations in other frameworks. Why is this important? Can't people just load React inside Vue or something? Well, we have a lot of users that need a more native experience. And we need people to be able to customize things without adding a million props to the graphical component or doing something very complex with plugins or things like their own encapsulated or their own, let's say, SPA or whatever app by reusing the business logic at an API layer and thus not having to write their own state implementation. Graphical looks simple in this regard, but there is a lot going on. A lot more going on, I'd say, than your average, React component shipped to GraphQL or shipped to NPM. Maybe not as much as something like tan stack table, but it's up there. Okay. And so we need something that can give people both a full end user experience that can be loaded from CDN and from NPM, and also provides the building blocks for a much more customized experience and even using their own framework. Zustand, we waited until it was mature enough to do this. We found a Vue Zustand compatibility library that just gave me all the green flags. Of course, it's svelte, solid. Everyone is a part of this drive, but we want to make sure it's, that there's at least enough third-party support for it to be realistic. It should be even usable in vanilla context, as you can see in the Zustand docs. So really, this unlocks a lot of potential and gets the graphical toolkit package to where we originally wanted it to be, which is a framework agnostic SDK for building GraphQL or graphical like editors. And then this means graphical React is going to lose a lot of complexity and be able to focus on just being the React layer that implements this toolkit and provides hooks and components for you to reuse for your own React implementation. The components being optional, and if you just use the hooks, then you could do the components however you want. In theory, you could do something even with React Native, I think, but if you want to, I can't imagine. It's possible. I'm sure a clever UX person out there has ideas for a mobile graphical experience. But yes, so another thing I'd really like to do for Graphical 4, if it's possible, as the Zustand migration has hit a couple hiccups, especially with persistence. If there's anyone out there that is a wizard with Zustand persist and immer and other such complexities at the edges of Zustand or Zustand, we would love your help. But I think we can figure it out. But after that, we hope to maybe add a couple other nice things to Graphical 4. My stretch goal would be to pluginify every tab. That includes the Graphical Explorer, which we already have a pull request for from a year and a half ago that I created, where we actually extract Graphical Explorer to a plugin and just add, I think we just have to add one plugin callback that allows a plugin to respond to the selection of a language symbol in the editor. So this means that you could, using this, not only can you opt in to have the Doc Explorer in your implementation, but you could also build your own Doc Explorer plugin to replace it using the same API. The other thing would be the same for query history, and even some other things like I'm pretty sure for Graphical 4, we will have the ability to specify prettier or whatever you want as the formatter plugin, for example, as a plugin. So I think this will mean that we will ship a graphical plugin prettier that you can install. Another change that I am kind of adding to the Zustand rewrite, you could say, is the ability to instantiate the store using these props, and thus by it basically the surface the capabilities of the graphical SDK, the graphical toolkit SDK, and thus the React hooks will expand enough to allow plugins that override configuration. So for example, if you've ever written a Vite config plugin, it is along these same lines, where you can write a plugin that provides all the configuration that you want to provide to that user's experience. So they just install the plugin and it acts kind of like a preset of configurations. So this will be available in a hook. You'll be able to use, use graphical config will be the hook, and you'll have a configure action that you can call whenever you want and reconfigure all the internal state that's usually provided by props. This is also because we plan on starting to simplify the props that are available in the graphical component so that the props that are more for more complex issues, or to solve more complex problems, will be moved lower down in the service layers, um, allowing other implementations to leverage them, but also simplifying the top level service layers, which are designed for like the 90% use cases, which don't require much customization, the average graphical user. So what else after this? So, and then furthermore, I would really like to, for 4.0, also work out with OneGraph, who has recommended that we rewrite Graphical Explorer, whether we should merge it into the repos I've proposed doing with another PR, where I take Graphical Explorer, convert it to TypeScript, break it out into a bunch of components, and then the next step would be to bring it in line with our theming system, and most importantly, address the ally issues that are currently facing many users, especially even GitHub Explorer users. So yeah, this is very important. And it also allows us to start introducing new spec changes to the Graphical Explorer as well. Yeah, so that's it for graphical. With GraphiQL LSP, and again, I'm going to write a blog post documenting some of this, especially the question of why Zustand. But then following, I'd like to talk also about GraphiQL LSP. So GraphiQL LSP has also been undergoing some changes, and I was actually given a very gracious grant from the GraphiQL Foundation that I applied for to introduce these improvements to the GraphiQL LSP, and worked a lot on them. Most of the improvements are actually about test stability and other types of hardening. So I created an integration suite that is as close to an end-to-end suite for the LSP that I could achieve. I tried using the VS Code test runner, and there were just so many issues with some of our dependencies. For example, Cosmic Config, doing dynamic imports and other things that just broke the VS Code test runner. I spent several weeks on it. There's still a PR somewhere. I think I might have closed it. But so this worked out a lot better. It works almost at the LSP protocol level, kind of at the topmost level that VS Code language server provides. The library that we use, the reference library that's used by many LSPs written in TypeScript. So yes, so these improvements are important, and then I'll be documenting other improvements in a blog post that include the ability to override how schema lookup behaves to match how the new relay LSP works, and as some of our users requested. And it's also designed to improve the caching of schema. So now you'll get more frequent updates of schema, and you can even set the schema cache TTL config setting in your GraphQL config to 0 to make lots and lots and lots of schema fet introspection requests, or read the output file as often as possible. So, and then eventually we will add a polling interface, or there's actually even a standard for this, for receiving, for polling schemas for changes, that's meant to be much simpler than sending many introspection requests over and over. So there's a standard here to adopt, and other possibilities, for example, providing an interface to allow users to provide, like, say, a WebSocket interface for the VS Code language server, or the GraphQL LSP server to act as a client to receive also schema update notifications. So there's a lot of really cool things possible there. But what I'm happy about is that this latest release should lead to you not having to restart the LSP service every time you need a schema change. And conversely, not leading to like 1,000 introspection requests a minute, which was another issue when we first made this release because of some issues we overlooked and resolved with LRU caching. Yeah, so yeah. What else? Yeah. And also, if anyone wants to help with documentation with any of this, please let me know, because it's probably one of the most important things that we're lacking aside all these nice features and bug fixes. I'm happy to have help with that, and would love to for someone who is passionate about any of the pieces of this ecosystem and making sure users can realize the full potential of them. Which also reminds me, a nice stretch goal for GraphiQL 4, and also in preparation for Monaco, importantly, would be perhaps providing a ESM bundle for CDN usage that, if it's even necessary, there's some things to figure out there. But if a new bundle is necessary and we don't have, and we can't just do a script ESM or ES6 import of the published npm package paths that have ESM. Either way, however we do it, I would like to modernize all of our documentation for CDN usage. We'll still support, of course, at least for the duration of GraphiQL 4's life, the legacy path of using UMD modules, but we find that the UMD modules lead to a lot of confusion and mystery for users, and also leads to complexity with loading plugins in this environment. And we're at a point where Safari and everyone supports ES6 modules in the browser. So we hope to provide that, a migration path, and first-class support for a modern browser bundle. And this is a long time coming. Users have been requesting this for years, but of course, we have to wait until the long tail, because there are many users of GraphiQL. Many of them aren't even developers. There's analysts and content writers and all kinds of people using it for all kinds of things. Of course, engineers are probably using it most. But either way, I hope this will give a more modern feel, and will also help a lot of people who use the CDN bundle who really aren't used to JavaScript or TypeScript at all. Maybe they're building a server in Python or Java or Golang or Rust, and they don't really want to have to deal with compiling JavaScript or TypeScript. So that's why they tend to use the CDN bundle. This is a note for us Node.js folks who sometimes have our blinders on to the needs of other communities. And some of the most, I would say some of the most enthusiastic GraphQL users are often found in like the PHP community or the Python or Ruby communities. So I could go on and on. Shout outs to everyone: Elixir, Golang, Rust, Java, .NET, C#, kind of the same thing. Y'all are making great use of GraphQL and GraphiQL, and we want to make it easier for you and more modern. So no more having to learn about or deal with UMD modules in 2024, because it's 2024. Anyways, stay up to date, or keep an eye out for blog posts There will probably be some official GraphQL.org blog posts and or reposts from my blog. And I also want to say thank you so much to Dimitri and many who have been contributing to the graphical project. It wouldn't be where it is without all the contributors we have. And I'm very excited for the announcement today that the Guild is acquiring the GraphQL CDN from Stellate, and that Stellate is being acquired by Shopify. This is all great news for the community. And again, we would be nowhere without your contributions, whether they be a bug report or an awesome PR. So see you in the chat. See you in the issues. Ta-ta for now.